All right, welcome to another episode of Design on Purpose, the WordPlay Studio podcast. Thanks for listening to this episode, but also the previous episodes if you have. I hope they've been delivering some value to anyone in all the different topics we've covered so far. So as always, let us know if there's anything you want us to cover in any of the episodes, and yeah, we'll do that. And also we've got some. We're going to switch it up again a bit in a few episodes' time with some guests, so stay tuned for that. And also, if you're on LinkedIn, by the time you hear this, we should be doing it by now, but I think we're going to start doing a Q&A at some point in the week. So also tune in that way. You can have the opportunity to ask us any questions about design or business. We're constantly working with businesses, helping them solve problems that they're needing to overcome. So basically, it's an opportunity for anyone to just ask a question and get an answer from us, get our perspective from a designer's and a strategist perspective. So stay tuned for those on LinkedIn, maybe some other platforms too. We might share some of that on our other social media platforms too. But today we wanted to share and talk about another axiom that has been really an MG Taylor Axiom that has been very, it's been a huge part of our story, and we've used it a lot in when we take sabbaticals. And the axiom is you can't get there from here, but you can get here from there, and you can really trip on that.
We have.
That's right. You can trip on it, and then you can trip on it, and it goes deep. It really goes deep. It's a pretty profound axiom when you start to just meditate on it and let it. When you really sit with it and go over and over and over it on it. Yeah. It can take you places, and it can take you right out there.
To get back to here from there.
Exactly.
Right out there.
Exactly. And also it's kind of, I think it would be cool to actually my friend Miles asked me the other day, he's like, what's the obsession about the future? Talking about all this WEF, World Economic Forum stuff and all this stuff about, the future. Why, what's the big deal about the future? And I was like, that's true. Everyone has an idea about the future. You want to know where you're going, but also at the same time, you are there's kind of a lot of obsession around it.
Because they know, if you go there and you start really creating there, then they're kind of writing the script. They are the authority of the future, and authority is, the author to write. So they are essentially creating the future from their perspective. They are designing the future by going to the future. They're having all of these discussions and topics and bringing in people who are experts about different things in the future and technologies and things. And they're able to paint a very vivid picture of the future and then get really organized around bringing it to life. So going over
bringing
there,
that future to today.
Well, what they do is they go over there, they create there, and then they bring a little bit of there here every day. So and when you can get people together, especially people who have positions of power and leverage and influence, then you can pretty much bring there to here. You can bring that future to here a lot quicker than the average person. Yeah. So
the World Economic Forum pretty much is a sabbatical.
Well, I guess so.
They go to a particular location, being Davos.
Yeah.
And
strange town.
And they haven't been there myself.
Well, neither, but it looks a bit. It kind of looks like a remember Fox Studios when they had Fox Studios here in Sydney? It kind of looks a a bit
but with
like
Alps,
a faux city
surrounded by Alps
and snipers
and with guns, snipers and some strange artillery. But which is it's kind of interesting too, because it's these people that are designing the future, the world or the economic future, I guess, and that's also
it's the world future. Because it's all connected, really, isn't it? All of it. It's a system. They're trying to bring around this new industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, right? And I think everyone has a right to design a future, and everyone has a right to dream. I guess it's, is it okay for us to all be sleeping while people are there dreaming the dreams? That are we not, should we not all be participating in that? And I think,
100%.
We should be.
Well, that's
can.
That's the illusion with, I guess the world in general right now, but particularly like these, bodies like the WEF and the, whoever, this centralized, the WHO and the WEF.
Who are you?
All these centralized governing bodies that we're meant to believe that we're living in a democracy, which, we kind of have in the part, but who got their say, like if it's a World Economic Forum or some sort of world forum where they're designing their future, wouldn't it be more inclusive to actually include the world itself rather than just like a very small fraction of the population to design this future? Because wouldn't that kind of lead to some sort of biased results for the entire world?
Well, yeah, I think if you're not allowing people to participate in the conversation, and like creating town halls, or it could be more complex, like introducing more complexity into designing the future. But I mean, when you listen to some of the things, the agendas, some of this 2030 plan or rollout, it just, I mean, fair enough. You want to get together and design a future. I'm not hating on it. I think everyone has the right to go there and dream a dream, but like, it's not really something that I align with. I don't really like this future that's been designed. But it does make sense. We know how it's done, in the sense that we know that, this method of co-design and designing for the future, and like we know how that works, right? We know that you're going through a process of scanning, opening up opportunities, expanding your thinking, and then maybe taking some breakouts where you're taking what you've learned, focusing on opportunities that you can work on or implement, and then getting to act on designing those buckets of work and actually getting stuck into doing the work to bringing that thing to life. So
yeah, and obviously, like before the forum itself happens, they would have some sort of sponsor team running the preparation and planning of what actually is to be designed and what are the outputs of that 1 week or however long is it a week, the World Economic Forum?
I think so.
Like that, or 4 days
so.
or 5 days or something. But, there'd be a core team with an intention of what the outputs should be, and then they're opening the doors and inviting selected people in, or people that have the financial means or whatever it is, or the interest to partake in the forum itself, and take that back to wherever they came from, and start to kind of fold that into their own strategies and frameworks of what they're responsible what they're responsible for in their corner of the earth. And it's but yeah, and you're right, because everyone does have the ability and should have the freedom to be able to do this, and that's a huge point, because not a lot of, like, when you're trapped in a world that's mainly making you either fearful of the future or kind of depressed about the past, like a lot of humanity is, you're not really you're kind of in that fight or flight or scarcity mode, or in a bit of a victim mindset. So it's kind of hard to design get yourself into the future, because you're just so busy dealing with the day-to-day, all these things coming at
past,
you.
Which, how do you even know if the past is true? Because his story is his story. So how do we even know?
There's many versions of the past. Everyone has a different version of it.
Maybe we need to do another episode about his story.
For sure. Let's get
out. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, like, in terms of the axiom, it's a really powerful axiom to provoke some thinking around future state. And it can be really difficult to see a path to the future from where you are. And until you go to the future and articulate what that looks like, it's a lot easier to turn around and go, oh, okay, well, that's how I got here, and then work your way backwards, and then kind of design the road forward from there. So it's like, that axiom, you can go in and out, and it is really trippy once you really kind of
tap into the visual aspect of it too. Like one sabbatical, I think it was the first sabbatical we ever took. We were literally like repeating it as a mantra basically for the week, weren't we? We're like, you can't get there from here, but you can get here from there. And we're just like kept going over it and over it, going like, because it just makes more and more, like it paints more and more of a picture the more you kind of think about it, because you're like, oh, I can go there and see back to here. And then, like that's it. You see the lights. There's a lit path there, or there's many paths that you can kind of explore and play with and get a bit creative with as potential futures or different kind of avenues to take. And it's powerful because you start to kind of like, I guess, deconstruct all these ideas that you might have about the future and kind of reconstruct them in a way that you can see how you could get there, rather than like you're saying, it's just being this kind of big question mark of like, oh shit, like you've got this ambition or you've got this dream, but it's like, how do we, you can it can be quite stressful not seeing the path on how to get there. And when you do have that really clearly articulated, like the future or the present, everything starts to manifest for you when you have a really clear idea of where you're going and a bit of an idea of how the kind of path there is to get there.
I mean that is I would agree with that, most of that, but in sense of like the one thing I think is a trap as well is like this new age kind of thing of like, oh yes, we'll just kind of like, now I'm going to just meditate and it's going to be manifesting the future. And like I think, yes, okay, there's manifesting, there's putting yourself in the vibration where you have that thing or you're there, like when you think about rain dancers or people that would sing in the rain, it's like, they would go out, they would feel the rain on their skin, they would smell the rain, and that's how they would bring in the rain. They would really feel the sense of this, and that was part of that, process. But it's like, you can tap into that energy with manifesting things, but you also need to have a plan, get organized, and bring it in, and tap into the vibration of it.
100%. And also, like, when you think about the kind of quantum world or world of the reality, or like Joe Dispenza, all these people that actually talk about this and the science of it, it's like actually the way to we're living in pure potential and we're pulling it into this reality, and that's pure potential is like unlimited possibility, right? It's not like a limit. It's not limited possibility where you've like kind of decided like this is the thing, because that's actually narrowing your past. It's actually opening the future. You might have this idea of where you're going in a way, but it's not like this set in stone thing. It's something that you're actually able to continuously pull unlimited possibilities from to guide you on your journey, through the present into the eternal present, into the future now.
That's true. But it is a very useful tool. Like it is something that kind of gets you thinking. And a lot of the time when we do use that in an MG Taylor workshop or design shop, what you would do is you would kind of get people thinking of that future state like we would often give an assignment that says the year is, let's say it's like 10 years in the future or something, or 40 years in the future actually. And then you would get them to design a piece of work from then and tell the story about, they're giving a speech in 40 years time, and it's like, what are you saying to this audience, and what were the challenges that you had to overcome, and how did you get there? What were the key milestones that you had to achieve to get to that place? And from there, because you're not limited, because it's kind of a creative exercise and you're in the future, it kind of frees up your thinking because you're not thinking about all the blocks or the things that are going to stop you from getting there. So you kind of it gives you like permission to play, I guess, as well, and be creative and like open up your mind, and it also creates this hindsight, that's another axiom, isn't it? MG Taylor Axiom, the future's only rational in hindsight. So if you can create the hindsight from the future state before the future becomes now, then you're actually you're actually able to get on the front foot, because you're able to kind of plan and kind of mitigate things that might arise that you've already created the hindsight for, so you can kind of respond, and you have a plan to respond.
And that's so true. And those axioms sort of, I think that's the second part of the next axiom in line after the you can't get there from here thing is that, because like, you know, when you get to where you are in life, you can easily look back and go, oh, of course this is where I'm at because of these things, or where my business is at because of these things. But like before those things happened, it's like, it's a total, you know, you have no idea, but in hindsight, it's like so clear. But that whole thing again, like with the pulling from the potential, and how that actually scientifically like allows manifestation, or whatever you call it, to happen, like calling in your potential that's in line with the energy. When you're thinking of, you know, your thoughts create your emotions, right? So if you're in a future state thinking about, you know, what does the world look like? How do you feel? All these things when you've achieved these things. And like you're saying, without all the blocks. All right, just a little bit of a technical malfunction.
Oh, hang on, I've got something to say.
Oh, I've got something to say too.
Go.
What I was saying, I guess I was just feeding off what you're saying in terms of going out into the future and not having those blocks, is that you're able to think about a future. And when you think about a future that's different, you then start feeling differently, which then shifts your emotion to actually start shifting that's how the manifestation works, because you're actually changing your vibration of how you're feeling about this state to then start to.
Well, you're matching the energy of the thing that you're bringing in, right? You're matching the energy, so it's like, because what is emotion? Energy, emotion, emotion.
Energy and motion.
Energy and motion.
Yeah, and that's what's so powerful about this axiom and that idea. And obviously, the people like, you know, these you know, World Economic Forum people, and or anyone doing visionary work understands that is the more you can articulate this future state and think about it differently, then it starts to change the way that you feel about it. And then when you start feeling about it differently, the world starts changing, because you're in a totally different energetic state. So it's like, you know, what's more powerful? I don't know if that's not like epic technology. That's the best technology. It doesn't require computers.
Or the metaverse. I don't know what
is. Or the metaverse. Yeah. So it's and like that's exactly it. It's like this technology that everybody. It's not just like for the few or for the rich or for the wealthy or powerful. It's like these people become rich and wealthy or powerful mainly because they actually understand some of these principles. Not everybody, but a lot do.
Do you know how many billionaires were made from COVID? It's like a crazy amount.
Like one
it's like 30 minutes or something like that. Some weird statistic. I like, don't hold me to it, but it's some crazy statistic.
It's big, yeah.
And just like, you'd have to have known what was going on to be in the right place at the right time. You know.
Yeah, and one of them was Facebook. One of them was Amazon.
Yeah.
I can't remember what else there was, but there's some ones that of course, like they're going to start, you know, when everyone's in lockdown, like
Gatesy made quite a bit of cash, didn't he?
Gatesy made a few dollars, I think he's also, you know, and let's see where that goes, because he's obviously, and that's a perfect example of the future happening before it even happens, is like this shit with some of these people, like Gatesy, for instance. Now he just buys land. He's like the biggest landholder in America. Surprise. And it's like, okay, where did the hindsight come for that, I wonder? Because I wonder what he's going to do with all this land in about 4 years, instantly, but in 2 or 3 years' time, you know, that's going to be doing something. It's going to be impacting the entire world.
Plant-based meats, or like, you know, eating bugs, or like, what's the other one? The baby formula.
What's the baby formula?
Oh, like I don't know. They were producing baby formula or something, or then the baby formula went out of stock or something. There's some control around this baby formula. I haven't looked too much into it, but I think there's some weird thing about that too.
Well, yeah, and it's totally, you know, without going too deep into it, it's like, obviously and also the media is like a huge part to implement, like at scale, in terms of scaling the future. And this is
that's the story, isn't it? It's the narrative. If you control the narrative, which is
at scale, yeah,
at scale, then you can control perception. And if you control perception, then you also control history, because you're controlling the narrative that's getting written about what's gone on. So it's like this full control. You're just essentially just controlling the whole reality. People's opinions, you know, you're able to kind of program through predictive programming. And cameras keep wigging out today.
Overheating.
Maybe Schwabs is listening. Shuts off the cameras.
Anyway, sorry for
you will not have a camera and you'll be happy.
No, we can share the camera. We can rent the camera from Schwab's. You just can't own it. Anyway, so sorry about the technical difficulties today, folks. There's some heat issues going on with my camera particularly. I don't know where we're at. We're talking about baby formula or something. No. And the media.
Don't worry about
we're talking
the baby
about the media.
Formula. Oh yeah, the media.
The media being able to control
the narrative.
The narrative from the past and the present or the future, because a lot of
they're creating the future.
Starts to roll
what was
out.
that thing that
like
that quote?
they're making this stuff up in line with a future vision that's already been, they're not just like spontaneously coming up with these aligned visions across all these different outlets or channels and stuff around these the same topics. Like surely someone, like not surely, that's how it works. They've had to align on this future to then create the media to start implementing that.
That's true. It's
no coincidence. No. So you see the power of that axiom, and if you've listened to our sabbatical episode, like if anyone's thinking about taking a sabbatical, thinking about that axiom, you can't get there from here, but you can get here from there. Take that with you on a sabbatical and think and literally
go there.
Think about it. Yes, go there. Each day, keep going there and seeing what that looks like for yourself.
Matt and Gail, or Gail was telling us a story one time about like something about they made this crazy bus and it like went to the future. Like people, I don't know if they were like dressed up as like futuristic characters or whatever, and they like got in this bus, I think, and the bus went to like the future.
Wow.
And so they were transporting themselves to the future. I don't know, we should ask her about it because it sounds kind of crazy but so cool as well. So you're like stepping into the future. Like it's like Back to the Future bus,
you're like in the future.
Yeah. What a trip. What was that opening line of George Orwell's 1984 that you said?
Who controls the past, who controls the future controls the past, who controls the past controls the future, and who controls the future controls the present, or something like that. It's something around, don't quote me on that.
Trippy.
But the beginning of 1984, and it's so true.
That's like an axiom in itself.
Exactly, because it's all obviously able to be what do you call it? It's all malleable. The past, the present, the future. It's all it's all just nothing. It's unique to every single person on the planet.
Yeah, because what's true?
What is true? Who knows? We don't even know. And the more you start to think about this shit, the more you think about, oh my gosh, like what is
my whole perception of things has completely changed as well in like the last couple of years. Like there were some things that I just really shifted on. Like I just never thought I would be into at all, and I'm like, oh, okay. I totally got fooled by that thing. I'm like, I see where that came from, and I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like I'm so not skeptical, but I'm just I'm a lot more discerning now. I'm like, I'm gonna look into that and see how I feel through that. I'm gonna check in with my intuition on that one.
And there's no what do you call it? I've just lost the word. The spontaneity about it, or everything that happens, it's like there is some link to the next thing. Like it's all, so everything's so connected.
It's so clever. And even like like movies, when you have a look at movies and things, it's like, oh wow, like it's kind of like these truths that come through, and they're like sci-fi and things like that. If you have a look at these films that have been produced over the last 10, 20
years. Such a popular genre, you know? It's like,
and then you're like, oh my gosh, this stuff is actually like becoming real. Is it because we're manifesting it, because it's going and seeding into the collective through this amazing visionary, like through Hollywood and everything? Like, is that why? Like, are we making that because we're like seeing it and now we're able to like comprehend and like build that into the future? Or I don't know, like, is it
already happening, but they're seeding it into the present to then make it have less of a, or have a subconscious connection to it when it actually does start happening in the future, and it doesn't seem so far out?
Or is it truth telling? Like, is it them telling us what's coming, and so that we're not so surprised when it does happen?
Exactly.
Like what do they say? Predictive programming. Or like, is like universal law. We have to accept what's going on. We have to be told. We have to be, we have to permit it in a way. So like, it's all
interesting.
It's all a bit
very
how's it
interesting. Going? The moral of the story is that we all actually have the ability to design our own futures. The power is in our hands. Everyone individually has that same power. It's not up to some other person up above or out there or in Davos or wherever the fuck they might be, telling you the way that the future needs to be. We actually all have the collective or in the individual power to dream together. And it doesn't have to be this, if you're not into what's happening and you're aware of it, this is the time for us to really come up with something different that's gonna meet the needs of the, people like us, or the regular people, the people that aren't, flying around to these conferences.
Because like, there is problems to be solved, isn't there? Like this system that we have right now, it's not serving us any longer. It's archaic. It's it's going to crash. It's going to fall apart. It's happening right now.
Yep.
It's just, do we want this pre-baked one that's being designed for us, or do we get organized ourselves as humanity and participate in our own future? And it's just everything, like when you think about the whole psyche of humanity as well, it's like really ingrained that we're always waiting for somebody to help us, to save us, to do something for us. And it's like,
well, that's part of the whole religious program, or some religions anyway, isn't it? It's like
programming. There's programming there. So it's like, we really need to rethink a lot of the things around how we got here, and what's the future that what's the best future for us as a collective, as humanity, as the planet, as how do we evolve as a civilization, and become what's our vision, and this is Matt and Gail's vision too, that we took on as WordPlays, is planet Earth as a garden and a work of art for all life. And that's really what this place is. It's our garden. It's a work of art. We are work of arts in ourselves. And how do we create a platform as humanity for us all to participate in that creation? Because it's totally possible, and we can do it, and we can create something beautiful.
And life actually creates more life. That's how life works. Well, it also eats life too, but the system is, it's abundant, and that's the thing. The more that we're actually kind of destroying life, like the environment, like biodiversity, like opinions, like individual, like in the sense like uniqueness in people, we're actually destroying, this potential of being a work of art. What's art? It's like unlimited creativity and creation, and yeah, you're so right. It's like that's what we could be living in, and there's no difference between what's going on now or what's happened forever in the past. It's the only moment we have is now, and that will be always, the truth. At least I feel like it will be. We're not going to live in the future, and we're never going to live in the past. So only in our minds or in our emotions, and And we are the ones we've been waiting for. That's the thing. It's like the more that we keep waiting for something to change, or this new election process, or some new politician, or this, that, or the other, or a new job, or a better, you know, whatever. It's like we can't wait any longer. That's the thing. It's like there is no waiting, because we are the ones that are going to make the change. We are the change. And until we actually realize, and the programming is that we are, you know, to wait for the change, that someone will save us, which
by the time we realize that they won't, we'll have a military boot on our face.
Exactly. So on that note,
yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for heaps longer.
We probably will again.
But yeah, the cameras keep wigging out.
The cameras keep tripping. But anyway, we've got the middle camera, lucky the trusty backup camera in the center. But that should do it for this episode. Hopefully you got some value from that. And remember, if you want to take a sabbatical or just anything, just meditate on that, because you will definitely, the more you sort of sit with that axiom, the more that it will start to play out in your life in a way. Like it really starts to, it's a powerful tool, that one. And it's been a huge part of our journey. You know, we probably should have another little journey with that one again soon. So anyway, thanks for listening to another episode. You can find us on TikTok, Design on Purpose, at Design on Purpose, same with on Instagram. And you can follow WordPlay Studio at WordPlay Studio on Instagram and on LinkedIn for anyone that wants to connect on LinkedIn. As we mentioned at the beginning.
And Telegram, get us on Telegram too.
The Telegram.
At WordPlay Studio on Telegram.
Yeah, anyone that's on the gram, the Telegram, not the Instagram. Get at us on there. And of course on YouTube and Spotify, podcast Design on Purpose. Check it out. We'll be there. Like and subscribe is the thing that you should do. Always got to remember to say that. And yeah, stay tuned for another episode. We've got some people that are going to join us soon enough as well. And
let's get Nelson on here.
Yes, Nelson, you're up, mate. Come on. Come over here.
The saucy Latina.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Well, stay tuned for another episode.